Hey, what's going on, all our yesterdays? Welcome to an interesting show today. We have a show about being Ernest. Ernest P Worrell, Jim Varney touched the lives of so many people, and there are so many people who just keep his spirit alive, and we're going to find out why today. But first, let me introduce my producer, Kevin.
What's going on? Glad to be here.
Pushing all the buttons. My guest co-host today, Robert. Made it at the last second.
I was here. I was eavesdropping.
Yeah, he was here. I just was lazy and I didn't notice that he was there.
Okay. And then let's just show all our Ernests. And here they all are.
Well, here's Josh. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Pretty good. We got Jimmy.
Hey guys.
Hey. And we have Ed and Leah. How do you say your last name? McKelvey? McKelvey. There you go. I can't read. Anyways.
We have one more. We have one more who's trying to get in, Billy Crank. Hopefully he's loading now, and he should be in here any second. We'll start with Josh because on my thing he's right there. So, Josh, how did you get into Ernest and Jim Varney, and like what made you just connect with him on, the levels that you connect with him on?
Just like probably the rest of you. Growing up, you got to see all the Ernest movies coming out in our lifetime. And, it was just clean, good humor. I've been cosplay doing like 2016, started in 2016 doing Ghostbusters. And the whole time I had a lot of people in my group say, you need to do Ernest. You need to do an Ernest. Whatever, I go on. I love Ernest. Ernest was great, but I'm not set up. So eventually I went out and I found the vest. I was going to do it. COVID hit, slowed me down. I didn't get to do it. I was going to do a Halloween or go to a con. Well, just like with the Ghostbusters thing, I went out. People were adults, kids, they were loving it. Well, I got the vest on. I did a little video, just kind of mixing the two. It went crazy. So I was like all over the internet, everywhere. Started doing this out in public, like at conventions and stuff. And just the amount of people, like you don't see Ernest cosplays very often. So I was like, yeah. I mean, they loved it, adults. And then seeing little kids that know who Ernest is. And, the kids need to watch some of the old stuff we grew up with. It's awesome. Ernest is the everyday hero.
It's true. And actually the first time I met RW, it was he was an Ernest that day. And I had never seen an Ernest cosplayer before too. And I'm like, that's awesome, because it's like you said, it brings me back for sure. Like that, there was definitely a lot more cleaner kids stuff back then. It was harder to be offended. Actually, we got Billy. Billy's here.
Billy's
finally.
Here. Come on,
One
Billy.
second. It's loading. It's loading. I see him down there. I'll just leave it there. There. Billy's in the dark. His lights are off.
Let me piggyback off Josh real quick, and that's kind of what happened to me. I've been acting for 35 years, and in 2014, I decided to do cosplay for the first time, and there's a con in New Hampshire called Granite State Comic Con, which actually last weekend is probably where I got COVID. But anyways, I did that one as just a volunteer, and then I was Murdoch from the A-Team. So then I went to another con that year, like a few weeks later, called Super Mega Fest, and somebody saw me as Murdoch, and they're like, man, you would make a perfect Ernest. And I was like, yeah, I was thinking about doing Ernest or whatever. And so I got the hat and a vest and shirt or whatever. And I was walking around this con with my other A-Team buddies. We had a BA and a Hannibal, and they had to leave. So they left at like 2. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to walk around as Murdoch by myself. So I put my Ernest thing on. I walked through the lobby, and somebody yelled, "Oh my God." And I turned around because I was trying to figure out what they were "oh my God"ing, and it was me as Ernest. And it's weird. I'm called the man of 1,000 faces, and I do 50 different cosplays. but out of those 50% of the people love Ernest more than anything that I do, and I get the most response from doing Ernest. Well, that's why I put this show together, was to figure out why. So let's go on to the next person who wants to tell their story.
Who wants to go next?
Yeah, how about Ed and Leah? Or is it Leah or Lee?
Leah.
Leah, sorry.
I often say I'm not the princess. So, but yeah, I'd say when I was a kid, my whole family loved Ernest from Green's ice cream commercials. So I'd love to see what region all of you have your own little commercials that you knew Ernest from, because he did commercials in different regions. And so I know him as the Green's ice cream guy. And when he came out with Ernest Goes to Camp, my whole family, it was like the one movie that everyone in my family wanted to see, which is a huge accomplishment because I'm one of 6 kids. So my parents just like loaded all of us up into the old Cordoba, and we drove into town to watch Ernest Goes to Camp. So it was one of the only movies I saw in the theater as a kid, because my mom and dad were not taking 6 kids to the theater often. So it was like, that was kind of special for me. But yeah, I loved Ernest. Everybody just loved it in my family because he was so relatable, just the underdog, so funny. And it was just a great time. And so that just was an awesome part of that childhood for me. And then of course I loved Hey Vern, It's Ernest, the cartoon. And
it's a live action show.
Yeah, not cartoon, but live action. Yeah.
Jim Varney is a human cartoon.
Yeah.
The man is so versatile. All the different characters he did. It didn't matter that there wasn't animation. He, as Jackie Chan would say, there's no special effect. I am special effect. He was the special effect. He's the rubber face. If there ever was the icon of rubber face, Jim Varney, Jim Carrey, they're up there with the top of the heap. They could do just about any character, and his versatility as an actor was, on par with the greats. He could do Shakespeare. He could do comedy. It was he's legendary. And, we feel like what I do, what my wife does, helping out with some of the things that we've done, videos and whatnot. It's just trying to pay tribute to Jim Varney, and we've done some great things along with Billy, as you'll hear in a few minutes. We started out, I did an Ernest audition because they were trying to find the new Ernest or son of Ernest at one point a number of years back. And I did about a 10-minute video trying to do some of the different characters that Jim Varney did. And it was a lot of fun, even though I didn't do that great of an impression in my mind. I mean, I had a good time doing we made up different costumes. I did Auntie Nelda. I did Dr. Otto.
I think he's stronger with Dr. Otto and Auntie Nelda. He's stronger with the side characters that Ernest in Ernest verse.
But we had such a good time making that video. And then Billy got in touch with us. We did a few videos together called What a Wonderful World. It was just kind of like almost like a reality show. Like, what if Ernest and his other characters had a reality show as a family?
That's cool.
And then we went on to do our movie Ernie and Ace's Wild Ventura, which involved also Jim Beckholt, who does a great Jim Carrey Ace Ventura impression. So we had an Ernest Jr. with Billy Crank and Ace Ventura with Jim Beckholt, and that ended up on YouTube. We have 29,000 views currently on that. So that's doing really well.
Yeah. The reason that whole thing came about, I think, is a little rewind just a little bit, is that when Billy, he friend requested us on Facebook as, another person that auditioned as Ernest, and we became fast friends, which was awesome. And then Jim Beckhold found us on Facebook, and he friend requested us. And he had also auditioned to be the next Ernest, the son of Ernest. And they were like, well, let's do something together. And we're thinking, okay, we're 600 miles apart. How's that going to work? But it sounded too good to, to kind of ignore. And so we ended up pooling our resources, and we thought, well, we can't have 3 Ernests. So of course, Billy was the natural choice. And we knew that all along. And then we just we looked at Jim's work, and we're like, okay, he's not Ernest, but he would be a great Ace Ventura. And that's kind of how this mashup this really weird Ernest hires Ace Ventura to find his lost pet mashup happened. And so we have that video out there in the world.
I was trying to condense it.
Yeah.
But I guess
Yeah.
you just
Condense it, right?
Well, that's
Back
great.
when I
Where
had
can
more
people
hair
go?
in '94, I was Ace Ventura for a while, but then this happened, so I can't really do the pompadour thing anymore. But I made it in the newspaper and on the news for my Ace Ventura back in the day, which I can't do right now because, like I say, my throat is toast. But yeah.
Where can people go to see those videos?
YouTube.
And
YouTube.
Like what's the channel name?
McKelvey Productions.
Okay.
And we've done some other videos that were not Ernest related, but they started out a lot of Ernest material or Ernest related material. And we had so much fun doing different characters and different scenarios because there's so much in the Ernest verse that you can choose from, that really the possibilities are endless.
I love that you referenced there's an Ernest verse because I had not heard that before.
Yeah.
So
that would be interesting to see
the
like
Ernest verse right here.
It wasn't called that in the 80s, but
and it just was kind of funny because when I helped write his audition, and I was thinking it just flowed off the pen for me. Like the jokes were really fun to write, and I guess it was just in there. It's just a part of me that I love it so much. So
I don't want to take up everybody else's time.
I know.
But it'd be cool to see like the Ernest verse like at a con, like just taking over, like totally just like a sea of Ernests and like
you do Nelda, you do this,
yeah.
The whole family's there.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
That's something we'll have to get together sometime.
Yeah. So Jimmy, what about you?
Well, I've been doing TikTok for about 3.5 years. And someone told me when I first started, they said, hey, you resemble Jim Varney a little bit. So, I decided to do the cosplay, got the vest, got the hat, and I've just been going with it, just having fun with it. But I mean, like my childhood, it wasn't like all sunshine, rainbows, little puppies. So anytime I watched Jim on TV, it was just, it helped me. Personally, just I'd sit there and watch. I think I watched Ernest Scared Stupid at least 1 million times. That was like my go-to Halloween. But yeah, Jim, I don't know. I just feel like he's like a part of me. And people say I look like him, so I just been running with it on TikTok, and it's been fun.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
Do you do strictly Ernest on TikTok, or do you do other stuff too?
I do other stuff too. I was in the military. I did 4 years in the Marine Corps. Spent 2 years in Iraq.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. I spent 2 years in Iraq. I came out with PTSD, so I use the TikTok stuff kind of as a coping mechanism. So and the Jim Varney stuff, it makes me feel good. It makes the viewers feel good. So kind of do that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, TikTok is it's a crazy thing. Like I mean, you guys all know that, but it's like there's so many different avenues you can go down. And with TikTok, and I find so many just like interesting things like that I've never found before. So I'm gonna have to check you out, and hopefully that'll change my algorithm so I'm not getting so much crazy stuff in there too. But yeah, that's great. So you say you've been doing that for like 3 years?
Yeah, about 3.5 years.
Nice. Well, that's good. I have one video on TikTok. That's it. And I literally just put it up yesterday. So, but whatever. And it's a video that you can see my shoulder. That's it. It was I did a panel with Elvira. And they posted like a clip from that panel, and like they cropped the two of us out. Like it was me and this guy Mike that were doing the panel. We're running it. We're on stage with her, and we're cropped out almost completely. But our question's there, so that's fun. Yeah. So you guys have all been doing it for a while. You guys all do cons and stuff too.
Not so much for us, but
not really. I mean, I have a Steel City Con in Monroeville, PA, and I think I went to that once, but I didn't dress up or anything.
Oh no.
No,
you may be surprised. Like for real. Like if you went as Ernest, you'd probably. I'm sure Josh and I know RW can speak to it. People react.
You walk through that door, man, and it's just. I remember that, like I say, the first time I did it, there was a group of. There was 2 separate groups of pirate cosplayers, and one of them was doing a photo op, and I had heard this rumor that the last movie Jim was doing was Ernest and the Pirate thing, but now I hear that was just some rumor that it really wasn't what he was doing. But whatever.
There was a movie made by John Cherry called Pirates of the Plane. So that was the movie that was planned, and it stars
Oh gosh, who was that?
The guy who plays in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, the
Oh.
rest of my memory.
Tim Curry?
Jim Curry.
Tim Curry.
Tim
Curry.
Jim
yes.
Curry, yeah.
Tim
Gotcha.
Curry plays the main pirate, and I think it was originally written for Jim Varney. And I think
It's not
it probably,
an Ernest movie.
Right,
No.
not an Ernest movie, but
No.
I think
So-
Jim was either too sick to play the role or something. But yeah, it ended up being called Pirates of the Plane, and that was the supposed rumored
gotcha.
pirate movie. Yeah.
So I see these pirate people, and they're literally doing a photo op outside. And I'm a person who doesn't care. So they're like trying to line us up, and I run in and I go, "You need a picture with Ernest?" And I jump in the shot. And I think the photographer took a few, and then he's like, "Okay, I need you to get out of here," whatever. But the whole pirate people to this day won't stop talking about the time I photobombed their thing or whatever.
That's cool.
But it's just amazing though. You can put Ernest in anything, and he fits in. So
Yeah.
like, I was at a con as Ernest, and there was all these. I posted the picture earlier on my wall, but there are these zombie roller skating girls, and I sat on the ground next to them like this or whatever, and they were all around me. And now it's like, Ernest, zombie Ernest, or Night of the Living Ernest, or whatever I call it.
Yeah.
But you can put him in any situation, and he fits because he's Ernest. He doesn't belong there, but he does. You
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
But my favorite is Ernest Saves Christmas, just because I'm a big Christmas guy or whatever, and I've probably seen that one way too many times. But yeah, I just he was, like you say, he was wholesome. He was the underdog. He messed everything up, but at the end of the day, he was the hero because he somehow managed to like figure it out, even though he didn't know what he was doing. He's like, "Hey, look, I figured this whole thing out," or whatever. But you're always rooting for him, So
Yeah. You were talking about Ernest like blending in with other things. So Josh, you also do the Ghostbusters. Have you ever have you mashed Ernest and the Ghostbusters up with you just get a Worrell patch or and kind of make him one of the Ghostbusters?
Well, yeah, I did I'm on TikTok too. So the first video I did was the whole skit, like, "Well, there's your problem right there, Vern," but I had a proton pack sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
And I went over and I was like, "This little wire right here," the whole deal. That's the one that went crazy. So I kind of mixed it up. Then I put my flight suit on with the vest over it and had the ecto goggles on top of my hat.
That's awesome.
And it got a lot of attention because in the Ghostbusters community, I've seen it before where Ernest goes Ghostbusting or something. And
You
I've
could
never
get a
seen
little
it 'cause-
patch for your jumpsuit that says
Yeah.
Worrell on it.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
cool.
You
yeah,
should totally do it. You should totally do that. There was we have in our area, we have the Massachusetts Ghostbusters. So there's a lot of Ghostbusters groups around the country, and that's there's a documentary about that too. But it's pretty awesome. Like they're very welcome, in inviting to different ideas and stuff too. So that's cool that you're able to somewhat mash it up.
Well, that's the whole thing about it is I've been doing the Ghostbusters thing for 6 years, and we do a lot of charity.
Yeah.
So now I'm getting an opportunity to use the Ernest coming up here soon. We're going to do one of our own con, and everything goes to the Isaiah house.
Nice.
Cool.
So I'm going to be the Ernest guest at
Nice.
this con. So
Oh, come on.
uh-oh.
Yes, there he is. He made it.
You made it.
He's frozen, but he's there.
Stop, Billy.
He's frozen, but he's there.
frozen. Whatever he's doing, he looks like he's enjoying it.
Yeah.
He could be eating something.
He looks like he's scared stupid, is what it looks
Oh.
like.
He's a little
Don't cross the streams, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Either he's
But
frozen or
yeah,
he's very
isn't
good at
there,
playing
maybe
possum.
a decal in the works there, Josh? A special decal?
Yeah, we got I got a little help on that, and I've got a little plan coming up. I'm gonna show it off here later, closer to
Nice.
Halloween.
Nice. Is it like a decal, like a Ernest Ghostbusters decal?
We can't
Yeah.
really tell at this time, really.
Yeah, kindly.
Oh no, we lost him.
Well, no, he's
Oh.
he's trying to come in and like on another link, so I had to remove that one.
He wants the
Um,
dramatic entrance. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask
See ya.
Fashionably late.
Yeah.
Can I ask what all is your? I know I think there was like 9 Ernest movies. What's your go-to or what's your favorite?
Jail is my own number
both
one.
of ours. Jail.
Jail is so
Yeah.
funny. It's one of the funniest movies I've
Yeah.
ever seen in my life. It's up there with Monty Python and the Holy Grail. There he
Oh.
is. He's eating a donut. He's not starving.
He's also
much
freezing up.
Ernest Goes to Jail is like a cartoon. It's very much like a
Electro
live-action
Man
cartoon.
and just oh my gosh, all the things in
Damn
that.
technology.
No,
Oh, they can hear it.
he's there.
Yeah.
I can hear him.
Frame by frame is all I'm seeing.
It's an interesting still for sure. Just zoom in on that a little bit.
Ernest Goes to Duncan.
That's
Yeah.
a cartoon right there.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, can you offer any kind of advice to Billy on what he can do to maybe have this thing work?
Sounds to me like he's got it looks to me like he has a bad connection, like a bad internet connection. I don't know if he's just in an area where he doesn't have a lot of service or what, but maybe go to another area of the building he's in. I don't know. Maybe he may be like limited to where he could go. Usually that's what it is.
Or I was going to say, I'd be
Aluminum foil on
very
his
impressed
hat.
if he just froze himself like that for our enjoyment.
For real.
Yeah.
It's like the end of Police Squad, or when they're pouring the coffee and it's just spilling all over. That'd be entertaining. But so when you guys mentioned Scared Stupid, right? So what the favorite movies? That's what Robert had asked. So who else wants to talk about their favorite?
So we got Goes to Jail, and I think Jimmy had said that Scared Stupid he's seen like 500 times. So I'm guessing that's probably his favorite.
500
So
times a few, yeah.
And Christmas is mine, just because growing up, Christmas was a very special time for me and my mom, and we always decorated. And it wasn't really about the gifts; it was about just the feeling, snowing, the lights, the tree, just everything that went with Christmas, as opposed to what did I get? So that one's the one for me. And so I guess Josh, what would yours be?
It's a hard decision. I really think Ernest Goes to Camp is my favorite. Just the time frame I first saw it, and it's the one I've watched the most. And going to the filming location for Ernest Day was amazing. Have any of y'all ever been to Ernest Day?
We wish
yeah.
we would even get a chance.
You gotta go. It's amazing. I mean, you have people from the movie show up, actors that was there. I mean, you can kayak, you can do archery, and there's a bunch of people dressed up like Ernest for the look-alike contest, of course. And I think it was about like 6 kids, all in Ernest gear.
That's cool to see.
Yeah.
The younger generation still getting into it. I mean,
And he's been gone 22 years, if I'm right.
Whoa.
yeah.
Isn't it?
Mhm.
February
In
2000.
Yeah,
Wasn't it? Yeah. So
2000.
22 years. And this is why we're here right now. Why? Why after 22 years of this? And again, I'm not degrading him, but just some actor from Kentucky who did some silly character. Why after 22 years is he still this popular? And that's why we're here.
He was the right character and of course actor at the right time. I feel like that just resonated with almost everyone in some way. And you watch the commercial. Of course, it started with the commercials.
Yeah.
And then they had the Ernest Goes to Camp, and that which blew up. I mean, we got to meet Justin Lloyd, Jim Varney's nephew,
That's cool.
who wrote the book about Jim Varney, about his uncle, and got to meet him. Really nice guy. Showed us some
The Emmy.
we got to hold
That's cool.
Jim Varney's Emmy that he won
That
for
was super cool.
for Hey Vern, It's Ernest. It was such a cool experience. Anyways, he talks about all the different experiences in the book about how when Disney had Ernest in a parade for Daytona 500 or something like that, and people went nuts when Ernest came out. It was like parade was okay, and then when they saw Ernest, it was like whoa! Like, everybody just lost it. And of course, they said we got to get him in a movie. Ernest Goes to Camp. Then it just movie after movie. They signed a deal with him, and those movies were just blockbuster hits. The first few of them.
The first 3.
Yeah, and 4. I mean, I loved it. I was a kid. I was just like, yeah, Ernest. I watched the show every week. But when the Saturday morning cartoons, it was like it fit right in. because it was just hilarious. And somebody else talk about it because I
Yeah, we had
I was going to say
we had Justin on our show. It was actually our first guest on here, and we talked about Ernest and stuff. I got a quick story. I mean to cut you off, Kevin, but
I was going to say the same exact thing. I was going to say the same exact thing.
Okay. I remember like when I first started doing it, I lived in New Hampshire, and I went to this mall. And I'm like, I'm going to the mall just as Ernest because it was around Christmas time and I knew Santa Claus was at the mall. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go get my picture with Santa Claus as Ernest because it'll be hilarious. So I go to get in line and I'm dressed just like this. And I'm like, you know who I am, right? And the person goes, no idea. And I go, well, not who I am, but who I'm supposed to be right now. That's what I meant. And they go, no clue. And I go, you have no clue who I'm supposed to be. And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, I'll be right back. So I go into Phi and I walk into the store and the lady who was probably in her late 20s literally turns pale and looks at me and goes, you're not. And I go, no, he passed away. I'm just a guy dressed as him or whatever. Right. And she's like, oh my God. And she's shaking. And I go, do you have Ernest Saves Christmas in here somewhere? Can I borrow it for a second? And she's like, we can't let you leave the store with it. And I go, well, Santa Claus out here and the guy running the thing has no clue who I am. And she goes, what do you mean he has no clue who you are? She grabs the DVD, says to her manager, I'll be right back. And she runs out of the storeroom and she goes, runs down to Santa Claus. And she's like, how do you not know who he is? He's Ernest. And so she's like screaming at the guy or whatever, right?
She was escorted out of the building and fired immediately.
So I sit on Santa's lap and I get my picture taken. I had to pay for it or whatever. And it's a great picture. It's me sitting on Santa's lap. And so I said, hey, will you sign to Ernest? Thanks for saving Christmas, Santa. And he goes, I can't do that. So I had my then girlfriend at the time write it for me because my handwriting's atrocious or whatever. But so I have this picture of me sitting on Santa's lap. But this lady, just a reaction, she thought I was, and I mean, I don't think I look that much like, you know, Jim Varney or anything, but she thought I was him. And like, I'm like, no, he passed away. And she goes, oh, I'm sorry. And I go, well, I didn't pass away. He did or whatever. But like, just that's the kind of reaction that you get with these people who love Ernest. So that's
and I think probably, that not only did she think you were Jim Varney, but she thought that Jim Varney walks around dressed up as his character all the time.
Yeah. But the fact that she accosted Santa because he didn't know who I was pretty funny. But yeah. So that's my best Ernest story, I think.
He went to the mall dressed as Uncle Lloyd after he filmed What a Wonderful World, and that he actually had security called on him.
Oh no.
Well, I look like a dirty hillbilly walking around the mall, acting like I don't know how to talk. And
he went in to get an application at Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that was part of one of our videos, and I almost got escorted out. I had to kind of like walk out of the building before like security grabbed me.
Wow,
I was arrested or something. I don't know.
I know you mentioned. I think it was his cousin or somebody. What is the family that you met? What are their? I mean, what do they think about this legacy that they're seeing these decades later?
I think that they.
It's a nephew.
Yeah, Justin Lloyd. He's just happy that I think somebody's keeping his own people keeping his uncle's legacy alive by paying tribute to him, and you know, and
Justin's
I think
really cool.
Yeah, he's just a really nice guy, and you know, he misses his uncle and all that he brought to the world and all the joy and you know, he's just happy to meet people, you know, like very personable, happy to meet people that love Ernest and love Jim, and not much more to say about it than that, other than he loves to share stories about his uncle, personal stories, things that he's learned from talking to other people that knew his uncle, things about the book, things he showed us clips on his personal TV of rare clips that he, you know, dug up from other people that are of Jim and various things on TV, rare clips you're not going to find, you know, maybe you can find them now on YouTube, but at that time you couldn't. And they're interesting stories. He loved talking about Jim Varney.
So Leah, you had mentioned earlier about like regional commercials and stuff like that. I didn't realize that it was different. I didn't realize that he did different stuff. So that's interesting too. I didn't realize that.
And
Yeah,
so it was like
what was it
30,000
narrated?
or something. I mean,
There
it was
was-
like this.
Yeah, he
huge
did.
number.
They said he recorded like
oh gosh,
they
thousands.
he was so good at reading script that he could record, I want to say 40 commercials, 50 commercials a day,
Yeah.
Wow.
and they would just put them out like machine guns. Like here's the script, and he would have it memorized in 5 minutes, and they would go and just shoot, and it would be like 1 or 2 takes, and they'd be done the commercial.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he had a photographic memory. They said.
It's amazing.
Wow.
I have a phonographic memory. I remember every album I've ever listened to.
Yeah. Whatever.
Phonograph.
Dad jokes.
A little different.
Yeah.
I liked it.
You know, when I was a kid, they didn't have dad jokes. They were
Don't
just
egg him on.
jokes.
Leah, don't egg him on.
Just
It'll
move on.
continue.
Move on.
But yeah, I'd love to see if was it just the movies that you guys knew about him, or did all of you know about the commercials first?
Yeah, I have the DVDs. I think they're the Hey Ernest or whatever, but it has like, I don't think it has all the commercials, but it has a crap ton of them. But yeah, I forgot what the number was, but I know it was a high number, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of commercials. And I wish I had I do acting, and I've been doing it for 35 years, and I read the script for 5 weeks, and I still don't know what my lines are. So I wish I could memorize, just look at something and go, hey, let's do this. But I'm like, my God, what was it? No, it's not. It's my dog. Sorry. My dog. I can't do that. It's insane. But
yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
but for me, it started I knew him from commercials. I can't I know that he was in a bunch of different commercials. I can't even specify
Mountain Mellow Yellow and
I know I saw him in a bunch of different stuff, and I was like, wow, this guy's everywhere. And then the movies came to be. Yeah, for me, it was commercials is what I got the introduction to him for sure. What about Jimmy? How did you? Was it the movies that got you into him, or did you?
Yeah,
know
it was definitely the movies, and then like I said, once I started TikTok, then I started researching more and more of Jim, and yeah, the commercials. I was just like, wow, he did Sprite, McDonald's, he did Mellow Yellow, he did, Cerritos. It was so much that he did. I was just like, wow, he was a talented person.
Yeah. And the fact that there was so many different brands that were using them, that's something that wouldn't happen now. You wouldn't be able to cross those lines. There's zero chance that would ever fly today.
Yeah, you look like that. You're doing Coca-Cola. You can't go somewhere else and look like that, because now we own that thing or whatever. But yeah, it was definitely a different time or whatever. But
I'm sure it helped him make money, because I'm sure he wasn't getting paid what they get paid now, but doing that many commercials, because his nephew told stories about how he would show up at Christmas time with a crazy sports car or something, and it'd be like, all right, we have to go get gas. He's like, want to go for a ride? And they would go for a ride in this crazy sports car.
He's got a DeLorean. He had a DeLorean.
Actually, that's what it was. It was a DeLorean. Yeah, it was a DeLorean.
And there's a story where Billy Bob Thornton goes to Jim Varney's house, and the DeLorean's up on cinder blocks, and he turns to his girlfriend. And he says, "Never give a hillbilly money."
Yeah, I forgot about that too. They were good friends, and weren't they were working on something. There was
they did a movie together. I'm trying to remember something about.
Well, they were supposed to do Sling Blade, from what Justin was telling us, but then something happened or whatever, and that never happened. But yeah, I don't compare Jim to I forget how you say his first name. It's either Sorrell or Sorrell Book. The guy played Boss Hogg on Dukes of Hazzard. And I don't compare him, but what I'm trying to say in this comparison is people watch Boss Hogg go, Roscoe, and he just seemed like this uneducated buffoon. But that actor, Sorrell, could speak 5 fluent languages, including Russian and Japanese. So you look at someone like Jim Varney doing this, you know what I mean? Well, here's your problem right here. And you're like, man, this guy's a moron. But you actually have to be wicked educated to pull off the moron and make it work and make somebody like you, as opposed to actually being a moron and trying to play it. So both Jim Varney and the Sorrell Book, who played Boss Hogg, were so trained. And even James Best as Roscoe, you dipstick, scuffing my vehicle, gonna cuff you and stop you. Were so talentedly trained that they can pull off the idiot or whatever, but they pull it off in a way that you fall in love with that character. So it just, people don't realize that. I think a lot of people will look at people like that and just go, this is why these people never did anything, because they weren't really talented. No, it was just the opposite. They were so talented, but they chose this one character.
Yeah.
And
they
people
get kind of pigeonholed.
Yeah, and they're like, well, you're Boss Hogg. You can't do anything else. You're Ernest. What else could you possibly do? And it sucked because there was so much more to Jim Varney that he didn't get to do because his life was cut short.
And I think we witnessed that a little. He was, because I may be in the minority here, but I really did like the Beverly Hills Billies, the movie. And I thought he did a great Jed Clampett, and he made it his own. I mean, so I forgot it was him, it was Jim Varney, I forgot it was Ernest,
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Josh. I'm like, can Josh do cosplay? Can he do Jim Varney as Jed Clampett cosplay? Would people get that, or is that too meta?
Some would get it, but I think it would just be fun to do it.
Yeah.
I would love to do that one.
But that's the thing, though, is I almost forgot that he was in that movie, and with his other characters from his show, like, it is one of those things, like, it's him, but you almost forget that it's him because he was so good. And it would be like pretty cool to see him in something like Sling Blade, like something where it's just completely off character for his norm. And I love that because I love a lot of horror movies, and there's a lot of people that are pigeonholed in horror, and then every once in a while they'll step out of that and they'll do something different, and I'm like proud of them, because it's they don't know that this is going to be guaranteed, like someone's going to watch this.
I don't know what movie it was, but he did do a movie with Billy Bob Thornton, and it was right before he died.
It's I was just looking it up. It's called Daddy and Them.
And it was something with Daddy,
that.
yes.
And it was
Yeah.
serious.
And
Yeah.
apparently, and I didn't get to see it, but I heard that
I saw
it was a very moving, dramatic performance.
All right, I have to
Jim
track
Carrey-
that
by
down.
Jim
Daddy
Varney.
and Them.
And then isn't there that like Blood Money something other one that I always forget the title to?
There was a lot of movies he did in the last 10 years of his life, varying, levels of drama or comedy.
Yeah, this one I guess has not ever been released. And I forgot what the name of it is, but we also can't forget that he was Slinky Dog.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Golly, Bob, howdy. I mean, but
so if you have Stars, that movie Daddy and Them is streaming on Stars if you have it. I don't, so I'll have to track it down in other ways.
Yes. But it looks like Billy gave up. It's a real shame that we couldn't get Billy in here.
He just had about enough.
He tried, I guess, and he's got other things he's got to do today, I guess. So that just it's sad.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, we can tell you a little bit about him.
I mean, we've been friends with him since
Billy got to meet. Billy was actually suggested by somebody that knew John Cherry. You know who John Cherry is.
He's the guy who started it all, really.
Right. Somebody knew John Cherry and suggested Billy, cranked him. I don't know how Billy got started with it, but somebody had suggested Billy, hey, dress up as Ernest because I think you'd do a good Ernest. And a lot of people really liked it. He ended up having a meeting with John Cherry at his house. They spent a couple days together, and at first it seemed like John was going to give his blessing to him being the son of Ernest or Ernest Jr. or whatever. They had this idea to make a new Ernest movie. And that, make a long story short, did obviously not come to fruition. I think they had I think Coke Sam's and John Cherry had a disagreement as to who should be the next Ernest or Ernest Jr.
It was very disappointing.
And I think Coke ended up buying the rights to the movie rights to the next Ernest film or something to that nature. If you know, Coke Sam's is his partner who did a lot of the movies with him as well as the TV show. And Billy was at this point when they made that decision to not go forward with it. He had already been told, hey, keep doing your Ernest stick, and he was making videos. He was doing the audition video. He did stuff with us. And by the time they said, hey, we don't think you're going to be it, stop doing the videos, he was so entrenched in it, doing conventions, doing appearances and videos, that it was just like, well, it's kind of hard to stop. Everybody expects it. So he made the movie with us. That was right around that time we did the Ernie and Ace's Wild Ventura. Took us, I would say, about a year to get it all done. He kept doing conventions. He stopped for a little while because I think he got a letter from one of their lawyers or something to stop, but I don't think they had any real legal power to go, and I don't think they really intended to make him stop.
They'd have to stop us all. I mean, seriously, you know.
Yeah, and it
Believe
wasn't.
me, we've looked up. We talked to people that were lawyers that are friends of ours, and we're like, "What's the legal precedent here?" Because we were like worried. Well, we have
none of us
show.
were getting paid to do this. We were all just doing it for fun as
Yeah.
a tribute to Jim Varney. There was no money really being made.
No.
Even the DVDs that we sell, we didn't even sell. We said, "Hey, donation to some sort of charity."
No, us. It was a donation only.
And there was a donation to something. I don't remember what we did. We said donation
McKelvey
only.
Productions.
We give you the DVD. And it was just like recovering costs that we had spent making the movie. Really, we weren't making any money off of any of our films, and nobody's making money off of this. We were just having a good time.
I was just looking at his IMDb, and he did a lot before Ernest stuff too. Like the first thing he has listed here is Pop Goes the Country, which is it's a television show from like 1974 to 2016, and it says that he was on it for like a year, just various characters. He was on Fernwood Tonight. I don't know if anyone remembers that. I do.
I watched the video clip of it, and he plays a character. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Who plays guitar and sings a little song, and it was fairly entertaining.
Yeah, he was on an episode of Alice. He was on Operation Petticoat. Pink Lady. 4 episodes of that. Spitting Image, which sounds very familiar. So that'd be interesting to find that stuff too. I'm sure it's out there. I'd be curious. I used to watch Alice like all the time, so I'm sure I've seen the episode he was on. He just wasn't Ernest, so I probably didn't recognize him. All the reruns that used to play. But
he was on an episode of Roseanne at one point.
Yeah.
Did a lot of things. Just
I have to look that Alice.
Alice was great. I loved that show. But that's interesting. So what do you guys like? I know you're Ed and Leah, you guys are making videos. Jimmy, you're doing the TikTok. Are you planning on doing anything more with it? Like I know you haven't done cons. Do you think that maybe something that you would do down the road?
Cons, yeah, I love doing cons. I mean, I think I would. I don't know.
Yeah.
The first con I went to, I actually saw people dressing up and, watching like the pictures taken, seeing the awe and the oohs, and it'd be fun to do it. I think I would.
Well, the good thing is that Ernest isn't like a very constraining, costume. So I go to Comic Cons and it's like Hulkbuster's walking around. I'm like, you're just dressed up like a dude. Like that would be awesome. So yeah, I think you should. You're in Pennsylvania as well.
Yeah, I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm in like Pittsburgh area.
Okay.
Oh, nice. So yeah, you should do it. Then that'll be cool. I mean, it would be interesting to see like just a reaction. I'm sure you may be shocked at how well it goes. But and Josh, you do the cons, doing the Ghostbuster stuff. Do you have any plans with the character, like with doing anything different?
I haven't really made much decision on plans. I've just, like I said, I've got something coming up I'm going to try.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, though, this summer, as when I was doing Ghostbuster events, I could take a break in the evening, put on my khaki hat, my vest, my T-shirt. A lot better than carrying around a 26-pound proton pack.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet.
My old back,
Well, give it another shot. Is it working? He's still frozen.
Oh no.
He's here though. He's just frozen. So Ed and Leah, like how often do you do your videos? Like, is it something that you have?
We've kind of taken a hiatus. I'm in nursing school.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We have a family with 3 kids. They're all in school.
They're
they have
teenagers.
practices. We kind of become like full-time work, full-time parents. But about 5 or 6 years ago, we were making a lot of videos. And at this point, it just kind of slowed down. Life has kind of caught up with us. I'm not saying we're not going to make any more, But I think it's going to take some time before I'm out of nursing school, and we have more time to do that during the summer. We usually take our summers, and we would go, okay, we're going to film a week over here in Kentucky. We'll do a week up here in PA,
There was a very time constrained.
And I spent a lot of time in the basement editing these movies.
Oh yeah.
I bit off more than I could chew. Really, it was like, what possessed me to make a full length film, and I've never done it before.
Yeah.
I got a big education out of that. But Ernest, the material is so fun, and everybody loves it so much that I felt it was worth it. It brought up, a lot of people joy to make that movie, and so I'm glad I made it.
Yeah,
that we made it, I should say.
That's cool. That's cool that you're going to nursing school as well. The world needs
I don't know if y'all can hear me or not, but it's free.
We can hear you.
Yes.
I can hear. Yeah, we heard you for a second.
We can at least hear you. If we can at least hear you, stay there, and we can ask you questions. And maybe you don't move, but if we can still hear you, then at least you're going to be part of this, because we definitely want to get your input. So can you hear us?
I'm going to take that as a no. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh.
What was that he said? Oh, really? That's
yeah. You guys are all awesome. So just go back to nursing school. Both my parents were nurses, and it's a very long process, but they found it very rewarding. So it's
I enjoy it. It's something that I feel like God has told me to do. It wasn't my dream when I was a little kid. I want to be a nurse when I grow up.
Yeah, he's at the VA hospital in Coatesville, and he loves working with the vets. And so I'm in the mental health field with PA counseling, so that's fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
my dad was a nurse for the state hospitals, so he worked at mental institutions his whole career. So that was
he always had a special person to do that. Yeah,
it takes a special person to do any of that, any nursing. I worked in a hospital for about 6 months, and I'm like, I cannot handle this.
Sometimes they call me special ed.
Anyways, let's not get into that. Yeah. RW, you have anything else?
Yeah, actually, because I know we're going to try to wrap it up, unfortunately, in a few minutes here, but it's sad that we couldn't get Billy, but this might take a while to wrap up. So
fingers crossed.
What?
Fingers crossed. By the time everything gets answered, he's back. And it works.
Yeah. I guess my question to everybody, and we can do it in no certain order. If Jim Varney was here right now in this chat room, what one thing would you want to say to him? And I guess we'll just start again with Josh, and then it's Leah. Oh my God, I can't ever freaking remember. It's like Leah. Okay, so we'll go Josh, Ed, Leah, and then Jimmy. But if Jim Varney was here right now, and I'd like to think that he really is. I really think that he's here in spirit. But if you could look him in the eye and just say something to him, what would it be, Josh?
Well, it'd probably be a loss for words. I mean, starstruck. I mean, how do you talk to the man? The man was pretty much a genius, but they said he was very down to earth to people. So the only question I could think is, I really don't know what I would say. I mean, there's so many questions. I guess I really don't know. I could go on and on and on. And
there he is.
Oh, Billy.
Yeah, we weren't laughing at you.
Yeah.
Is there like screenshots he's just taking of like?
No. He's frozen in that position permanently, I guess.
Yeah.
That Mom always said, if you make those faces, it'll stick that way.
That's right.
He's living proof.
Yeah.
So what would you say?
A face only a mother could love.
What would you say to him, Josh? I mean, it didn't have to be a question. It could be a comment. It could be.
I just admire you, and you're amazing. That's pretty much all that would come out of my mouth at the time, because I'd be starstruck and lost for words.
Yeah.
I'd have to plan it.
Ed and Leah,
I would probably
right?
say thank you. I would say thank you for, not just for giving us all these laughs, but he tried as he did. I know in later years to tried to be a person that reached out and loved other people, to be a positive influence besides his, the characters that he did on screen. I know that he visited children in the hospital,
Yeah.
like dying children in the hospital, dressed as Ernest.
Mm.
And I was like, man,
Mhm.
that's really cool. He took his own out of his own time to go do that.
Yeah.
And he's just really a great guy, as Josh mentioned, down to earth, doing appearances, shaking hands, and taking pictures with all the people and the kids, giving autographs. And he did not tire of doing it. He loved doing it. And even though that he was kind of, in a sense, pigeonholed into that role for a long time, typecast in a sense, he still enjoyed interacting with fans. And just want to say thank you for not just the laughs and all the different characters and all the joy you brought everybody, but actually reaching out and trying to be personable and down to earth, and not being too cool for school.
Mm.
I would ask him what his dream role would have been if he hadn't been pigeonholed into Ernest, even though we love Ernest, and to thank him for that. But what would his dream role have been?
Somebody said, I think it was in the book, he confided in one of his friends one time that he loved to do Shakespeare, and he is writing a sequel to, was it Hamlet? Something like that.
Okay.
That would have been cool.
Cool.
Jimmy, what about you?
Billy.
Billy's still trying. I'd probably say thank you. Thank you for being a positive role model for me growing up. Thank you for being basically a second dad, because I just, just thank you for everything. I think, Jim, besides the TikTok stuff, I think Jim molded me who I am today. I try to be funny. I try to be positive. I try to, do things without, anyone knowing. Just basically thank you.
Nice. What about you, RW? You're an Ernest guy.
Am I?
Yeah, earnestly. Yes.
What about
No,
you,
I mean,
man? Come on.
So I'll be, I was born in 65 and grew up, as you know, in my book, I didn't have a good childhood either. Let's wait and see if Billy gets in. Let's see what funny face he's going to make this time.
It's not looking good. All right, go ahead. What are you saying?
Okay.
You're
So yeah,
frozen too.
I got picked on in school, and my home life was not always great. But so it's people like Jim, and so many other people in life who I've stolen stuff from. So I'll watch this person, and I steal a little bit of them, and I'll steal a little bit of this person, and a little bit from here, and a little bit from there. Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, Jim Varney, these people. And I would say the same thing. Thank you for giving me a part of you that I can carry around with me and call upon when needed at the right time or whatever. So, there was a lot of brilliant people that I got to, not necessarily meet in person, but meet on the television or in movies growing up that have shaped me into the person I am. And he's definitely one of those people. So yeah, I would say, you're missed. Thank you. And I would also.
No, don't even do it. He's pulling a Billy. Look at him.
But yeah, and Robert, you got something at all before we wrap up? Because it doesn't seem like we gave you any time to say anything today.
Well, I'm not an Ernest. I mean, I don't want to take the stage away, but obviously I'm a locations guy. So Josh, when you were talking about Ernest Days, whatever, that I think that'd be kind of fun to go to. And I think some other of my peers have shot those locations as well. So, but no, and as you were all talking, I was wondering if Jim Varney and Ernest is one of those people that when some of our stars are taking too soon, they create a different type of legacy. For better, for worse. Obviously we'd want Jim Varney here, but I kind of think maybe this is kind of something that happened, that his appreciation continues to grow, even though, or maybe in spite of that, had not been with us. But thank you all for being here today. So, and introducing me to the Ernest verse.
Yeah. Ernest verse.
Thanks for having me.
Ernest verse.
Thank you so much.
One video that I think is really cool to watch is an introduction to the Ernest verse, besides like Hey Vern, It's Ernest. There's one called Hey Vern, It's My Family Album. And you
Yeah.
can find it on YouTube.
That's fun.
It's really cool. It's got a lot of his different characters, and it's just a funny video.
Nice
I
one.
think that's on one of the DVDs I have probably, but yeah, there's a lot more out there than I think people think. Some people think that there's like 4 movies, but I think there's like 9 or whatever. And then there's the family album, and then the Hey Vern, It's Ernest, and the commercials. And people don't realize, again, there's more than just Ernest. There's all the other characters in the Ernest verse where he plays them all. There's only snakes and, all those other characters or whatever. So, yeah.
Your World as I See It. Have you seen that? I love
that.
Your World as I See It. The
Alistair, I forget his
the
name.
snobby guy.
Yeah, the guy. Yeah,
Aster Clement.
Aster Clement. That's it. Yeah.
There's also who was it? Simon Rex on Saturday Night Live. They just kind of showcased an Ernest thing too. If you guys want to look that up.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago, but
to say it would have to be fairly new, right?
Yeah, I think it was just this year they showcased it. But yeah, it was like kind of cool seeing that too.
And then you got the John Cena equals Ernest plus the freaking Mike Rowe or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh! And then, like I said, I found this Elvis tribute artist, and I'm like, oh my God, the guy looks like Ernest. Like, it's freaking me out. So now you see Ernest everywhere. You're like, that guy looks like Ernest. That guy looks like Ernest. It's like he's everywhere, even though he's not. But
he's everyone's dad.
Yeah.
Right.
But like they say, legends never die. As long as we keep them going, and it seems like the bottom line here. Unfortunately, Billy didn't make it in here, and it's really sad. But you got people like Billy and Josh and Ed, and I'm gonna try to get to Leah.
There you go.
I did it. Oh my God. And Jimmy.
If you can nail down Billy as a guest for a future podcast, I mean, he's got a lot to talk about with all the different things that he does. So, I mean, I think that if you can actually nail him down to get him to get a good connection, I think he'd be an interesting guest because, you could do another half an hour or so, just whatever he's experiences.
Well, he's been at he does the cons. He took us to Scarefest, which was one of my first cons. And that was interesting because it was like Ernest doesn't really.
It's the first time that we actually did cosplay at a con. We didn't even do Ernest related stuff.
Because it wasn't scary.
She did Mrs. White from Clue, which she did really great. And I did Magnum PI because it's the only thing I feel like I look like.
Yeah.
Like for real.
Yeah, actually, I think Ernest would have gone over well at a horror con because things like
he does it on all of them, and it goes over really well. Actually, there are people that walk up to him that assume that he's Jim Varney's son.
Oh, really?
And they say, "Thank you so much for your dad was so great."
Oh, they think it for real.
They think he's really his son, and it's like, okay.
Well, his family, I know Jim Varney's niece, Justin Lloyd's sister, Andrea, has basically calls him her cousin. Like they do have adopted Billy kind of into their family a little bit, which is nice. Very nice of them.
I showed up at a horror con once as the dude, man, with my friend as Walter, and that actually was weirdly a hit. But a couple of years ago, so I was married and got divorced, and my ex-wife moved back to Indiana where she was from, and so my 2 daughters lived in Indiana until recently when my oldest one just moved back to Vermont, but that's a whole different thing. But so I think it was 3 years ago, I had to go down there for a graduation. So I'm in Indiana and I call Billy. I'm like, where are you? And he's like, Kentucky. I'm like, how far? He's like 3 hours. I'm like, all right, let's, I'd never met him except for online. So I drove to, I forgot what part of Kentucky it was like maybe 40 minutes across the Indiana border. I forget the name of it, but we met at some like Steak and Shake thing or something. And there was a Walmart next door. So I drove all the way from Indiana to Kentucky. Your eyes moved.
We saw you move, man.
There, he's moving.
You, Ernest works at a horror convention. I told you. This is creepy.
Can you hear us? Can you talk? No.
Oh, no.
I think that's a no.
So
he tried.
I drove all the way to Indiana, rainstorm, with my ex-wife's mother's old car, and the windshield wiper the rubber was detached from the blade. So it is pouring and it's going, and I can't see anything, right? Like it was that bad. So I get there and I meet Billy at this, like I say, Steak and Shake or some kind of malt shop place or whatever. And I go, I got to go get a windshield wiper. So he's like, let's go get windshield wipers. So we had just met that day and we did this whole windshield wiper skit, like on the cuff while my youngest daughter videotaped it. It's on YouTube somewhere, but it just, the chemistry that Billy and I had that first meeting, like people are like, oh, you've known each other your whole lives? No, we just met about 30 seconds ago. So the video is, you know, for what it is funny because like, he's like, I found your problem right here. You see the rubber has detached itself from the little thing right here or whatever, you know? And then I'm like trying to pull this, I'm trying to figure out how to get the old one off to put the new one on. And I'm like, how the heck do you get these things off? And he's like, he's trying to figure it out right now. And like, it was just this whole like improv thing. And it was just so funny. But yeah, that I was lucky that I got to meet him for, you know, the hour or whatever. And then I went back to Indiana with a good windshield wiper. So that's on YouTube as well. And here he is again, as we're closing out. Will he get in here?
He moved
Will
for like a second.
His eyes move?
He moved for like a second. He just moved again.
You're moving.
His eyes. I saw the eyes move.
No, but he can't see.
Oh, man.
Oh, he's muted. You're muted.
Yeah, but he's also not talking. I just
maybe if he figures out how to unmute, we can hear him at least. You have to figure out how to unmute. It's not
letting me unmute him.
How to? You can unmute him.
It's not letting me.
I think he needs to allow access to his mic.
Possibly.
Well, there's that.
We'll have to get him. We'll have to get him back on. But yeah, it's. I can't. Usually, I can mute and unmute people, and it's not letting me unmute them. So there's something else going on. But anywho,
that's Billy. All you people.
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is.
Do you guys know where people can go to check out Billy's stuff? Like,
he's got his own.
Frank.
He's got his own. I think he's got his own YouTube channel. He's on TikTok. He's on. He's on our channel on some videos.
Yeah, he's on Ernie and Ace's Wild
If you type in Billy Crank, if you type in Ernest Jr., you'll probably find him. And
you can type Billy into Google and you'll find him.
Yeah.
Just
Google,
Billy. He's the first one that comes up. Yeah,
you'll find him if you try. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah,
Josh,
speaking of that, where can people follow you, Josh?
Yeah.
Where can they find you?
Well, they can mostly just at Bristol Buster on TikTok.
Okay. And you guys? So I don't have to say your names and butcher them again.
McKelvey Productions. I mean, and we're
McKelvey Productions on YouTube.
Yeah.
We have a Facebook page where we post updates once in a while, but it's been slow lately because we haven't had many videos. So we do other things, obviously, besides Ernest. We had one where we were like Men in Black. Me and my friend were Men in Black cops, like doing social media.
I wrote that one.
Yeah, she wrote social media police, where we do like questionable, like, oh, your weight loss program is all you sucking in your gut, stuff like that. You're in going to cyber jail or something, silly. It's a little more involved than that. But that's our latest one that we did about a year or so ago. We have some other ideas besides Ernest, but we, that was what really got us started in making videos was the Ernest material.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
Jimmy, what about you?
You can always it's on TikTok. That's the only thing I can only do one thing at a time. So TikTok at Jim.
Can you repeat that, Jimmy? Because you're
yeah.
kind of breaking up there, dude.
You sounded like a robot. So what was the TikTok handle?
At _ just Jimmy.
Okay, cool. Actually, Robert, where can people go to check out your stuff?
I'm at setjetter.com or set-jetter.com. I'll both take you there. So for all your movie locations, and I need to add in some Ernest visits, it sounds like.
Yeah, for real.
RW, are we recording this podcast so people can rewatch it later?
Yeah, it'll be on YouTube and it'll be right here on Facebook.
Taking notes, you know what I mean?
Okay,
Yeah.
Billy has a movie that we did together with him called Corky and Bob Get a Job too, and that's on Amazon Prime. So
nice.
you're welcome to look that up. And if you like,
totally.
Billy does have a chemistry with pretty much most people that he works with. It's amazing chemistry. So he does with Jim too.
And he's got various commercials you may have seen. One ran it locally in his area during the Super Bowl. He's got various things. He's now in the last few episodes of The Walking Dead, the background character. So yeah, he's got a lot of either irons in the fire or things that he's done. So just try to speak for Billy since he's not here.
Right. Yeah. I got some irons in the fire of my own, but yeah, it's hard depending on location where you are to get things happening. But all right, Josh, give us your best Ernest line in an Ernest voice. You know what I mean?
I thought we'd just go ahead and say, you know what I mean? You know, all of us at once. Well,
anybody else? Jimmy, you got one?
No, I always got one. Hey.
All right. And how about you two?
Pancakes on parade.
Thank you all for keeping Ernest alive. And, thank you for being on the show. And
we'll have to get Billy on.
We'll get Billy on again. But we thank you all for being here. It is really a shame that Billy could not connect. Sometimes that happens, and it's a pain in the neck. But this will be, like I say, for the most part, as soon as he hits end, it'll be on YouTube within a few minutes, and you can start sharing it out to people or whatever. But yeah,
thank you for the opportunity. It was a privilege. It was fun.
No, I thank you.
You guys all look great. You guys look like I could go. You could go to a con, and I'd be like, "Yo, it's Ernest." I would be so excited. I know what you mean. Would.
But when you're writing stuff, there, Leah, I got it, Leah. Write something for me. I'd come down where Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania's not that far.
Okay, cool. All
right.
We're
all right. Thanks, everyone.
So
come
much.
to Lancaster. We'll take you.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.